So the concept of a software factory has become quite popular, and even though we already had some other techniques that came before, like graphs, loops, and other ones, the concept of a system that covers the whole software development lifecycle really caught my eye. So that's why I decided to start build my own. I started to do some research, and while I got a couple of ideas from other factories that were being open sourced, I quickly saw that some of them were lacking some stuff that I think that would be really beneficial. So that's why today I'm going to be covering them so that you decide if you want to include them into your own software factory, because, well, I think that it would really benefit from this. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that these projects are completely useless or useless at all. They can be pretty useful, but I'm not truly sure that they should be called a software factory. Based on my understanding, a software factory should cover or help you cover the whole software development lifecycle with everything sorted out and everything much more systematized. Because, of course, if we're doing all of this with one agent, we can keep track of everything that it's doing. But once we start working with multiple agents, it can become a very big mess very, very quickly. So having all the software development lifecycle systematized does not only help our agents do a better job, it also helps us keep track of everything. So the first problem I found is that individual correctness does not mean system correctness. So what I mean by that is that all the different systems, yes, they did the testing, linting, type checking, code review, CI, and all of this, but on an individual basis, just using it in a single work tree or in a single PR. All that just demonstrates that an individual change appears to be correct. It does not prove that the PR A, PR B, or PR C work correctly when they all coexist. And that is especially important with AI, because with humans, the throughput is pretty limited and there are fewer simultaneous changes happening at a time. But with AI engines, we have many work trees, many PRs, and many changes being reviewed at the same time. So of course, the more parallelism you have, the most important it becomes to verify the combination. So what a factory needs is, of course, we have to have an isolated execution for each of the agents, not just with work trees, but also with sandboxes and so on, to make sure that the agents do not collide with each other and also do not destroy anything in our machine or in our server. And of course, we also have to have per change validation to make sure that each change in itself does not introduce any regression, does not introduce any vulnerability and all of that. But as I've said, to make sure that all of these changes work correctly when they coexist in the same place, we should merge all of these changes into an integration candidate that basically can exist inside of a branch or a merge group or a work tree or whatever you want, and then have this integration candidate being run inside of a production-like staging. And then here, with this production-like staging, the system could do integration tests, end-to-end tests, smoke tests, system tests, and also we can, as a humans, get inside here, and besides reviewing the code in the individual changes, we could also be interacting with the app manually. Or even better, you could have an AI write a playwright script that basically records different tests and then leaves you with the video in the issue, and then you can watch the video, leave a comment if something is wrong, and the AI could read that and change it. Okay, because of course, if it passes, it is release eligible, but if it fails, we have to go back to fix, and this in a loop until it is release eligible. Another issue I found is that a lot of these projects actually stop at PR verification and that's it, while the software development lifecycle does not stop there. These PRs may have caused some database migrations. We also have to take into account that maybe we have to have backwards compatibility in case we have to go to an older version. Maybe we have different versions working at the same time to do some A/B testing. So yeah, we have a state that we have to move from the development and staging environment to production. So that's why your factory needs a couple of stuff. First one is release identity to make sure that you can trace what you validated and identify much easier what's causing an issue, and also to make sure that you deploy the right thing, you should be using the same build both in staging and then in production. For migrations, we could have the system detect whether there is a migration or not, and if there is a migration inside of the PR, we could go for a different route. And also, while here inside in the migration review, make sure that the system does something like this. For example, phase one could be expand. This is just an example that we are changing the key of a variable. So at the very beginning it was called name and then it's full name. So first we could have expand. That's basically the two coexisting at the same time in the code base. Then we could have migrate slash backfill. That is basically copying the data from name to full name, then change the code, basically read or write directly to full name, and then basically remove the old field directly. Then we could also have safe rollout options that this basically limits the damage that we could be doing with the release. So for example, we could have a canary that it's basically exposing the new release to a small percentage so that basically you can keep track of errors, latency, health, and so on. Then we have flags, that's basically turning a feature off for everyone and then on for internal team or for beta users. And of course, deploying does not mean that the system has finished its job. It has to make sure that it's actually healthy. So we could have several criteria here. For example, some health checks, smoke tests, critical flows, error rates. Is there latency? These are just some examples. We could have other stuff that we could keep track on to make sure that the deployment is actually healthy. And in case it is not healthy and we have to roll back, we could just go back to the older artifact, the older build, because that contains pretty much everything. Or if we've used flags, we could just turn that flag off and so on. And the software being built, it's not only the one that can fail. Software factories can also fail. So the third issue I found is that these different factories do not save the state of the different issues they were working on, different builds, artifacts, different code, and all of this stuff, so that at least if it fails, we can reopen it and continue where it was left off. So that's why we need a durable workflow state. To be honest, it's pretty simple to do. Probably with an SQLite DB, it's enough. And it would just save the operational state, whether there are retries, the steps, IDs, and all that. And we could have human nodes in Markdown or in the issue tracker that we use, linear, GitHub projects, or whatever. In this durable state, we should probably also have a retry policy. So for example, let's imagine network timeout or rate limiting. We may have some retries, some different attempts, until we either escalate and, well, the factory escalates this and notifies us that, hey, you are having some issue with the factory, or it basically stops and that's it. Also, it's pretty important that if an agent does not finish each job, the factory has to detect it. So we could have here a timeout policy. For example, if in the planning state, the agent is taking more than X minutes, or in the implementation state, or in the test, or staging provision, or whatever, we could have the factory interrupt this and escalate it, notifying us, hey, I've detected an issue with the agent doing the planning. We could do this, this, and this to fix it. Please help me. And of course, the factory does need some type of cleanup system so that we don't end up with a lot of leftovers and taking up disk space and so on. The fourth issue I saw is that a lot of factories do not run agents inside of a sandbox. And not only agents, other processes and so on. But especially agents, it's really important that we run them inside of a sandbox, as they can do a lot of damage if we let complete access to our machine or to our production system or whatever. And of course, it will also give us processes completely isolated, so an agent would not collide with another agent. Also, agents should have the least privileges possible. So for example, a coding agent may only have repo write, branch create, and test run. A review agent may have repo read and comment PR. A release agent may only have the permission to deploy to staging environment, and a production release may have a separate authority or having it a little bit more restricted. Having a dangerous operations gate could also benefit us. However, having a sandbox already fixes a lot of that. But so of course, for some operations like merging to main, deploying to production, running some destructive migration, deleting infra, could go through a protected operation gate that could check a policy, a dedicated role of the agent trying to run this operation, or directly ask to human. And of course, having an audit trail here could also be really nice to have, so that us and the factory can keep track of what agent is doing what's the model of that agent, what's the number, the run ID, the task ID, the permissions that it has, the commit that it's working on, and other properties that you can have here. Another problem that I found is that the production should be able to change what the factory does next. So many factories actually only have observability on themselves, like knowing the agents that are running, the status of the runs, tokens, jobs, PRs, failures of the factory, but usually they do not integrate into product observability, because an app can pass every verification and still fail later in production. So first we need to have some technical observability to see the errors, logs, metrics, traces, performance, and all of this. And some possible tools that you may already know, you may already be using are Sentry, OpenTelemetry, Grafana, and of course there are others. You can have those directly installed inside of the same repo of the factory, or you can have them just integrated through some type of connection via API or whatever. Then we probably also need some product observability, because not every problem is just an exception. You may also want to know the usage of different features, funnels, conversion rates between the onboarding and the actual app, drop-offs, retentions, and all of this. And of course, for this type of observability, the king here is post hoc. And of course, to be able to fix the technical issues or to fix the issues with the product, it can be UX, UI, maximizing conversion rate, or whatever. We can benefit from making sure that we trace everything so that we can correlate that issue to a specific release. And of course, you can also have systems inside of your product to collect user feedback and have that feedback sent to the factory so that the factory also starts working on it, or at least leaves it pending for you to approve if you like that feedback, or you just want to remove the issue or whatever. So all of this basically completes the whole software development lifecycle in a loop that allows all of this system to actually be a software factory and not just some type of agent orchestration system. And if this way of building reliable software for real users sounds interesting to you, I walk you through the whole process to build one of these, plus many other stuff, inside of AI Software Builders, the community that you'll have down below. So yeah, that's pretty much it. See you on the next video.